We have 32 verses. I need 3 people who will read 10 verses each.
Proverbs what, Pastor Bert?
Chapter 10.
Okay.
Okay, I'll start. Okay. And if you want to read chapter 10, the second half or the second part, if you
I'll
feel.
read, Pastor Bert.
Okay, good. The Proverbs of Solomon. A wise son brings joy to his father, but a foolish son grief to his mother. Ill-gotten treasures are of no value, but righteousness delivers from death. The Lord does not let the righteous go hungry, but he thwarts the craving of the wicked. Lazy hands make a man poor, but diligent hands bring wealth. He who gathers crops in summer is a wise son, but he who sleeps during harvest is a disgraceful son. Blessings crown the head of the righteous, but violence overwhelms the mouth of the wicked. The memory of the righteous will be a blessing, but the name of the wicked will rot. The wise in heart accept commands, but a chattering fool comes to ruin. The man of integrity walks securely, but he who takes crooked paths will be found out. He who winks maliciously causes grief, and the chattering fool comes to ruin.
The mouth of the righteous is a fountain of life, but the mouth of the wicked conceals violence. Hatred stirs up conflict, but love covers over all wrongs. Wisdom is found on the lips of the discerning, but a rod is for the back of one who has no sense. The wise store up knowledge, but the mouth of a fool invites ruin. The wealth of the rich is their fortified city, but poverty is the ruin of the poor. The wages of the righteous is life, but the earnings of the wicked are sin and death. Whoever heeds discipline shows the way to life, but whoever ignores correction leads others astray. Whoever conceals hatred with lying lips and spreads slander is a fool. Sin is not ended by multiplying words, but the prudent hold their tongues. The tongue of the righteous is choice silver, but the heart of the wicked is of little value. Do you want me to continue, Pastor Bert?
I'll read.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, sister.
Okay.
God bless.
Verse 21. The lips of the righteous feed many, but fools die for lack of understanding. It is the blessing of the Lord that makes rich, and he adds no sorrow to it. Doing wickedness is like sport to a fool, and so is wisdom to a person of understanding. What the wicked fears will come upon him, but the desire of the righteous will be granted.
Amen.
When the whirlwind passes, the wicked is no more, but the righteous has an everlasting foundation. Like vinegar to teeth and smoke to the eyes, so is the lazy one to those who send him. The fear of the Lord prolongs life, but the years of the wicked will be shortened. The hope of the righteous is gladness, but the expectation of the wicked perishes. The way of the Lord is a stronghold for the upright, but ruin to the workers of injustice.
The righteous will never be uprooted, but the wicked will not remain in the land. Verse 31, the mouth of the righteous brings forth wisdom, but a perverse tongue will be cut out. And the last one, the lips of the righteous know what is fitting, but the mouth of the wicked only what is perverse. Okay. Which verses jumped out at you?
Verse 9, Pastor Bert.
All right. The man of integrity walks securely, but he who takes crooked paths will be found out.
I don't know. I don't understand the second part.
Okay. The man of integrity walks securely, but he who takes crooked paths will be found out. What's a
Yes.
crooked path?
Wrong way. Wrong way to God, or
Crooked path is like
Zigzag.
a
oh,
zigzag.
okay.
Right?
I'm
Crooked,
overthinking.
yeah, like zigzagging. So you can say that a person who zigzags with God, without God, with God, without God, without, you know what I'm saying? You're zigzagging, you're crooked
Okay.
in the way you walk with God.
Will be found out.
You'll be found out. You know, I'm not supposed to steal, but sometimes I do. I'm not supposed to commit adultery, but sometimes I do. You know, I'm not supposed to lie, but sometimes I do, you know? So you're kind of zigzagging, you're crooked because sometimes you seem like you're a good and honest and right person, but other times you're crooked, you're evil. You do things that are wrong. So you don't live a straight life. Now, let's be honest. We know we're supposed to be living a straight life, right? Aligned with God's word. But sometimes we fall short. I call that a weakness, you know,
Yeah.
because you're doing your best to try to follow God's words, but sometimes you fall, you know, then it's a weakness. This one is talking about you know what God wants you to do, but you pick and choose whether you want to do it or not, all to your advantage.
Oh.
And that's when you're kind of crooked, you know, because you appear like you're a pretty good person, but you really aren't because you only act that way. It's like being a hypocrite. You only act like you're doing the right thing, but that's not really your integrity. That's not how you really live, you know. Um, so it's kind of like a double life.
It's like you show your good side when there are people seeing you, but you do the bad side if you're by yourself.
Right. And if you think you can get away with it, but that's where it says you'll be found out.
Okay.
So it's like God will expose you then.
Eventually.
Yeah. And then you'll be brought to shame.
Ooh.
And so
Thank you, Pastor.
when God brings you to shame, you know how to react, right? What do you do when God brings you to shame?
Accept the correction.
Yeah.
You
Follow the
humble down.
universal law. What was that, Daniel?
You humble down, Pastor.
Yeah. Lord, you know me. You know why I did what I did. I deserve to be punished, but have mercy on me, Lord. And will he have mercy on you?
Yes, he will.
Yes.
And that's where,
Always.
you know, that's where you have times when you say, I deserve to be punished, Lord. I know it. I don't deny that at all, but I sure need your mercy, you know. Withhold the punishment I definitely deserve. That's what we have in Christ. Now, obviously, God, again, loves you and he'll discipline you according to his purpose. But discipline is different from, you know, uh, from condemning you.
Punishment, yeah.
Yeah, condemning you. So God's not there to condemn you. He's there to correct you. There's no condemnation in Christ, but there is correction. So live with that. Live with that correction. Okay, what else do you have? Any other verses jumped out at you?
Pastor, verse 26.
Okay, let's look at 26. When the storm has swept, as vinegar to the teeth and smoke to the eyes, so is a sluggard to those who send him. What is this? It's talking about you being in a position of hiring somebody, right? Or you, even your children, giving them tasks. Okay. And if that person is a sluggard, that's my translation. What does it say in other translation besides sluggard?
Mine says lazy.
What verse is that again?
26 is.
26. So your translation says lazy.
Mm-hmm. That's it. NASA.
Sure. Sluggard, lazy. You get the point, right?
Mm-hmm.
You lazy bum.
Mm-hmm.
Heard of that phrase, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you hire them or you give them a job, what are you going to experience? But this is my son, but he's a lazy bum.
Procrastinator.
He's a friend of mine, but he's a lazy bum. What are you going to end up getting because you hired somebody you liked instead of checking to see if they're really, a kind of person who is industrious or diligent?
Not a good
lazy.
job.
Huh?
It's not going to be a good job.
It's going to be frustrating to you.
Right.
It's going to be like vinegar to the teeth. Ugh, I hate that taste. Right? Or smoke to the eyes. Oh man, my eyes are just burning with the smoke. That's the frustration you're going to be experiencing if you hire somebody who's a lazy bum. Just put it in street language. So, what's the wisdom? What's the wisdom if that's what it's telling us?
Hire someone that's not lazy.
Yeah, it's that simple. But you got to learn to check out, if they are lazy or not. You can tell, right?
Right.
And the thing is, I prefer to hire my friends or family.
Right.
So I don't really check their work ethic.
Right.
They're kind of, oh man, I got to keep telling them what to do type of thing.
Right.
Got to do this. I still remember when I went to this place where, I was like at a cafeteria and I was just there for a break, from my driving. And there was this one worker there. She was a young lady, young teenage lady, I think. And as she was, doing her things around the cafeteria, I said something like, "Can I get a cup of water?" She stopped, went after the cup, filled it up with water, asked me if I wanted ice, asked me if I wanted anything else, and she just, wow, she really treated me with a lot of attention, and all I wanted was water. I think that's a kind of person that is not lazy. You know what I'm saying? You can tell, like, man, she's not a lazy person. I think I'd like to hire her if I ever needed to hire somebody, right? But it's evaluating to see if they're real. Anybody can talk a good game, but sometimes you need to figure out whether it's real, right? So that's just an example of that situation of dealing with a person who is lazy. You might as well understand what the lazy person is going to do to you. It's going to be like putting vinegar to your teeth and smoke in your eyes. You're not going to be happy. Okay?
Thank you, Pastor.
Does anybody else have any thoughts about that? We open it up for discussion if you guys ever want to share. Anybody else have a verse or a thought?
I like, so go ahead.
Mr. Susie,
Go ahead, Brother Dan.
ladies first.
This lady's still deciding.
Beauty
Absolutely.
before age.
Yeah, just
Brother Dan.
verse 12.
Well, hatred stirs up dissension. And again, I'm open to other translations. Hatred stirs up dissension, but love covers over all wrongs. So we can look at relationships. We can look at, who you relate to, who are you having relationships with, family, friends, acquaintances. And the idea that love covers over all wrongs, that's the one that gets my attention. Because when you're loving people, when you're looking at people, in street terms, when you're checking them out, you're looking at them, are you looking at them with love? And if you are, then whatever they do wrong, you just overlook it. That's what it says, right? Love covers all wrongs. So if you do something wrong and I make a big deal about it and I criticize you for it, is that loving?
No.
Yeah. You cooked a terrible dinner. You're a terrible cook. I'm trying to figure out illustrations about, things that would cause you to, uh, make a big deal when somebody makes a mistake, when somebody does something wrong.
How about this one?
For you to bring it up,
Mm.
right? It's
That's
not very loving. And it gets complicated because, like, sometimes you got to bring it up. And that's why, yeah, it gets complicated. Susie, what did you have?
I was going to give you a better example.
Okay, let's hear it.
Like you send somebody to the store with the first time you tell them what to get, they forget. Okay, you got the wrong stuff. I understand you forgot. Next time you send them to the store, you write out a list. They forgot it again. Okay,
Yeah.
so the next time you write them a list, you call them on the phone while they're in the store, and you tell them, and they still forget. So what do you do now? What do you do then?
It
Because
says hatred stirs up dissension. So the first thing is to not hate them.
okay, I don't hate them.
Okay. Then you have to go into disciplining and correcting them,
Mm-hmm.
which is, correction. Remember, throughout Proverbs, it talks about correction.
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to them to receive that correction.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also a place to cover their wrongs. See, so you might have to consider your timing. When is it the right time to correct them, and when is it the right time to overlook their offenses? It could be one or the other depending on your timing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So putting that into practice takes some, skill and wisdom to know when is the right time. But as long as there's no hatred,
Mm-hmm.
then I think that's always a good foundation.
It is.
I have a tendency to hate people who do wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I just want to, you know, pay them back for what they did,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you're dealing with, society and how people are doing wrong and getting away with it, man.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as you know there's a time to correct that, that's why we always acknowledge God's justice. And in regard to family relationships, excuse me, yeah, maybe there's times when you just have to overlook some of the things that they do wrong. If my wife cooked a bad dinner, um, am I going to get upset? Man, you ruined the dinner.
Are you going to eat it?
Yeah.
Grin your teeth, grin, and bear it.
Yeah, just eat something, because you don't want to, she tried her best, right?
Right.
You got to give her that. So, or sometimes you say, well, if you cook it a little longer, it'll be much better. Something like that, giving them tips. But
right.
Hey, it's relationships.
Right.
But what, when you speak out of hatred,
Mm-hmm.
speak because you hate somebody so much, it'll cause dissension.
Yeah, nothing good comes from it.
Yeah, so there's, it's like, you can ruin friendships.
Yeah.
Because of how you show how much you hated what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times, so it really requires some skill.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Human skill. And if you didn't grow up in that kind of human,
right.
Practice, when
right.
people around you weren't practicing that, then it can get ugly, because
right.
there's also the opposite.
Right.
The alternative is, if you are around somebody who has a hot temper, what's going to happen to you if you grow up around somebody who has a hot temper, or you're friends with somebody who has a hot temper. You know what it says in Proverbs?
Mm-hmm.
It says you're going to learn their ways.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to end up just like them.
Mm-hmm.
And now when he's angry and you're angry, now it goes back and forth, and it gets filled with hatred and violence too.
Yeah.
See? But if you're around people who practice this verse, cover over the offense. Just overlook it. Sometimes it's better to just overlook it.
We can learn.
Yeah, Pastor, like, it's your hatred in your heart. There's a lot of misunderstanding going on there, and quarrels. It multiplies quarrels. But love, it doesn't mean that it covers crime, or but
No.
you have to deal with it gracefully, and you forgiving.
Yeah. And hatred, you can cover your hatred, and it can come out with the kind of words you speak. I can hate you and then start talking bad about you behind your back. See, that's creating dissension. So if I talk bad about you behind your back, then all of a sudden, oh, Susie's on my side. Susie also hates you too, because I hate you. I don't say it that way, but I put words together to make her hate you. See how hatred can work that way? And that's why you have the correction of always saying, no, you know what? I better not do that, because that's not loving. And as we practice loving others, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to say anything bad about so and so. I'm not, gossip, and I'm just not. Okay. What else is there? Anybody else have any verses that jump out at you?
Yes.
Love Tuesday. Remember that.
Pastor Bert, is this verse 13?
Wisdom is found on the lips of the discerning, but a rod is for the back of him who lacks judgment. Wow. Is that what you guys have? Verse 13? So you can see.
No, yeah, mine says makes a rod is for the back of him who has no sense.
Yeah, lacks judgment.
Mm-hmm.
You have no sense. You don't know right and wrong.
Right.
And I think when you don't know right and wrong, you just go with whatever you feel like doing. And, you know, your feelings are the ones that motivate you to do wrong things,
Wrong things, right?
right? Um, and right things, but, you know, that's why, because you have no sense. You're just all feelings. That's like a child, right? They don't have any real sense of right and wrong. They're more into, you know, how their friends make them feel and how their friends, you know, get into arguments and fights. So this thing is that a rod is for the back of him who lacks judgment. What is a rod?
Reminds me of like a weapon or a whip, something that's going to
A
hurt
big
somebody.
stick.
Yes,
stick.
It's a
Yeah.
massive thing, Pastor. Unbelievable.
yeah, it's rather
Yeah.
severe, don't you think?
So a rod can be like maybe in context of his history. A rod is used for the shepherd's rod, you know, and staff.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it's a thing used to guide the animals, sheep and so forth. A rod. Everybody okay with that definition of a rod is used for
Whipping.
a rod? Yeah, we're gonna get there. But originally, it's just, you know, Aaron's rod,
Guiding.
just for guidance, right? And then if you have a sheep, you have a shepherd's rod or a staff
Right.
that, you know, moves the sheep from here to there. But it seems that this rod is important for correcting uh, the one who lacks judgment. And so a rod is for the back of fools. I imagine that rod being used to beat or whip that person.
Yeah. Beat some sense into them.
Yeah, right. So when you're doing something foolish, right, and maybe your mom spoiled you. You ever met
She did.
moms like that? They spoil their
She
children,
did. I was
and then she lets you get away with
a lot.
wrong, and
Mm-hmm.
instead of correcting you
Mm-hmm.
in the name of mother's, you know, baby love, uh,
Mm-hmm.
you end up suffering because you weren't paying attention to what is right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So you get beat up by life. Life beats you up.
Yeah.
I was talking to a brother, and he used to go, he was in jail at one time too. Um, but I said, if you keep ignoring correction, right? Because that's what Proverbs teaches. If you keep
Mm-hmm.
ignoring correction and resisting correction, what's going to happen? What's going to happen to you? And he goes, you'll end up at the correctional facility.
Yep. Or
See?
dead.
Oh, yeah, even worse, right? So the correctional facility is because you've ignored all the subtle corrections that life was giving you, and because you kept ignoring it and you think
Mm-hmm.
that your way is better,
Mm-hmm.
now you're suffering and you're now in the correctional facility. That's an extreme case, but life can beat you up. Life can beat you up if you're not careful, you know, about doing what's right and
And wrong.
staying away from doing wrong things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that's verse 13. Wisdom is found on the lips of the discerning. So it's interesting that my translation says that, you know, uh, the lips of the discerning. So if you have lips and you are having discerning lips, which means the kind of things that come out of your mouth, you're very careful, right? You're discerning. You don't
Mm-hmm.
just say whatever you feel like doing. You know anybody like that who just thinks that they can say whatever they want, you know, because that's the way they feel, and that's that they're just being honest. You ever met anybody like that?
A lot.
Me?
So there is something that says we shouldn't be that way. You got to be discerning with your words.
That's
So
right.
if you're discerning with your words, you're going to be careful with what you're going to say to that person, or don't say anything at all. See, you have the discernment to do that. And when you do say something, you're not going to say anything that's foolish.
No.
You will come up with all the things you learn in the Bible class.
And be graceful, right?
Yeah, you're going to come up with words that are wise.
You're right. You're supposed to season your words with salt so that all that you talk to will be gracefully. You talk to
Yeah.
gracefully.
See, so you mix all the things that you're learning, and when you finally say something in response, you're not going to be creating dissension. You're going to be speaking words of wisdom, and the words of wisdom
and encouragement.
Yeah, like for example, if somebody was telling me, oh, here's a picture of Jesus on a frame, and um, I don't need to pray to Jesus picture, right? But I think he was just being, encouraging. So you can take it and just say thanks, or you can say, no, don't give that to me. That's idol worship. Get it out of my face. No, I don't want that. There's discerning words and wise words that you can use instead of one or the other. So if you can choose,
Right.
because by being, aggressive, you can ruin the friendship.
Right.
Because they were just trying to encourage you, and instead you kind of, offended them by rejecting their gift. Things like that. Princess, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Oh, I just want to give a sample about the the attitude, or what verse are we? I'm sorry.
12.
Uh,
No, not 12.
Secret,
13?
deception,
13.
or
13.
wisdom is found on the lips of the discerning, but a rod is for the back of him who lacks judgment.
Yeah,
So, oh, by the way, let me just wrap that up. If you lack judgment, expect to be punished severely, like getting beat up with a rod. Like, it applies to us as well as to others. Okay, go ahead, Princess.
Because I have one of my sisters-in-law that she knows, or probably she just say what she wants to say, even though it hurts other people. And then if it reaches her that she hurt somebody with, with how she said something to that person.
Is she gossiping? Is that it?
No, like in a party or something.
Yeah.
She will tell somebody like, ew, why do you have to wear that kind of clothes?
Yeah.
It's mapang
Oh, what
mata.
happened to you? You got fat.
So, oh yeah.
Like that.
And then my sister-in-law will say, well, I'm sorry, this is how I was brought up. This is me. I'm just being honest. She doesn't want to have a correction.
Yeah, and again, we're talking about the words that kind of come out of your mouth, and that's all of you. It should always be wise words. You can't get away with saying foolish words and say, "Oh, I was just joking." Uh, People recognize you as a Christian, and they really take seriously what you have to say about God. And then you're gonna joke around, and then they're gonna be judging you because you're speaking foolishly. That's just the burden you inherit when you become a believer. You've got to keep in mind that you know between us, we can joke around because we're friends and we know each other. But others, they're quick to judge you and condemn. And, all you did was just joke around. So, if your feelings make you want to say foolish words, yeah, you got to put some self-control there. You also got to keep in mind, the words that should come out of your mouth are the words that you learned in the scriptures. There's a verse that says the law of his God is in his heart and he doesn't slip. So you're always going to be practicing this idea of whatever's going to come out of my mouth, I got to make sure it's consistent with the things of God. And when you joke around, you got to be ready that some people might misunderstand. They don't think you're joking, and then they'll use that against you. They'll use your words against you. So just something to keep in mind. Wisdom. But if you practice wisdom most of the time, that the things that are going to come out of my mouth, I'll practice wisdom in my words. If you practice that enough, you're in a better place as opposed to ignoring it like it's no big deal. No, you got to make it a big deal for you. Daniel, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
Just have another verse, Pastor Bert. This verse 19. Oh,
All
that's
right.
it.
My translation says this: when words are many, sin is not absent, but he who holds his tongue is wise.
Unbelievable, Pastor Bert. Like it reminds me of the book of James. It says there in James 1:26 is those who cannot hold their tongue, their religion are worthless. And the other verse is like maybe we have to wrote what's the words of James? Take note of this. Everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. Like God gave us two ears and one tongue only. So maybe just use a lot of our ears. You know what I'm saying? And
God gave us 2 ears and one tongue. So you
maybe we
have to
can talk
use
a lot.
those two
Like here,
ears
we're here in your
more
study.
than the
We
one
can do
tongue.
that.
Yeah.
But
That's good wisdom, right?
yeah. But
Encouragement to listen more, speak less. These are all wisdom that we strive to practice because we know we don't always live up to it, but we're
amen.
striving to practice these things, and you're adding these things to your knowledge so that you find yourself in a situation, whether it's social or you're in a group or in a meeting or talking to someone, you're able to exercise discernment.
Yeah,
You
not
want to say something and then you say, maybe I shouldn't say that. And if
exactly.
I do want to say it, why do I want to say it? So again, it's just things that we just need to keep in mind. Discernment.
And we need the power of the Holy Spirit to take control of our tongue, Pastor. Everybody's in a struggle with it. But sometimes we really have no control. We get sarcastic, and it's so bad for a Christian to be sarcastic, Pastor Bert.
Yeah.
Especially when like husband and wife, and you don't really you keep on talking. There's the sins coming out already. The words are bad already. You know what I'm saying?
When there's many
And
words, sin is not absent.
there you go.
Somebody quoted that to me a long time ago, and I just it stayed because it tells me that the more you talk, you keep talking and talking and talking and talking, eventually you're gonna slip and say something wrong. When there are many words, sin is not absent. So what we have to make sure is be more, careful with the words that come out of your mouth and understand the practice of it having impact on the hearers. So I know there's a lot of people out there in the world who are even successful because they say whatever they want, but we're not of the world. We're we don't live carefree or careless. We live very carefully before our God, and that's just the way God wants us to behave or live. you know if anybody thinks differently, I'll be glad to, look up verses that encourage living a careless life or a carefree life as opposed to, being careful, So that's pretty much it for our class today, guys. We could probably have a proverb marathon when you think about it, right?
I love that, Pastor.
A proverb marathon? Just one chapter is enough is enough for like a few hours. Because how many verses did we cover? Out of the 32 verses, we probably only covered 5.
Yeah.
Imagine that. So anyway, pray about it. Maybe one day we'll have an opportunity to do the marathon. You've planted that seed, okay? So now I'm thinking about the marathon. All right, guys, let's close in prayer. Who would like to close us in prayer?